he had done so many things.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Like I met him in Phoenix, Arizona. I met him in Arizona. And I knew him from Popcorn Planet, but I didn't know how involved he was with all these other things. Like he had
Right.
contacts with E News, he had like contacts with like Ryan Reynolds, or I don't know if Ryan Reynolds, I'm probably misspeaking, but
Yeah,
like other
no, you're right.
celebrities.
They had worked on something together. They had some kind of I can't remember the details of it.
Am I
But
sharing my screen? So I'm scrolling I'm like nervously scrolling, and I'm wondering if it's on the screen. It sure is. I was looking for this definition. Okay, let's go through his resume. It's in the judge's ruling. Andy
okay.
Signor is the founder and CEO of Popcorn Planet. For the longest time I was calling it Podcorned, like podcast. That's
Well, that makes
every
more
time I
sense
thought
than
of it.
popcorned, but
To me, it does, because he's a podcaster, but I guess he's not a
yeah.
podcaster. He's the founder and CEO of Popcorned Planet, which makes way more sense because his background is in entertainment news, I guess. Never mind. He did like movie reviews. Me and him were talking about
Oh, that's why.
yeah, there was like this convention for horror movies, and he was talking about like all these celebrities that were there, and we had this conversation about horror flicks. He's a movie guy. I had no idea.
Hmm.
That was my introduction to Andy. But anyway, he's CEO and founder of Popcorn Planet, which he describes as a publicly accessible news and commentary channel, which with nearly 1 million subscribers and a large daily viewership, hosted on Popcorn Planet's designated YouTube channel. That's basically what it is. I can see no distinction between what Andy does and say E News. They're basically the same thing. I mean, different flavors, I'm sure, but
Right.
they
Well,
cover the same things.
here's the other thing. For one, basically, the law has not kept up with the digital age at all. Like you mentioned, the 1920s and so on.
Yeah.
When you look at the laws, the rules for civil procedure, things like that, they have not kept up with the digital age. They are
No, they
so far
haven't.
behind. And the
I was
other
telling
thing
my
is
wife, I
the
didn't mean to
oh,
cut you off, but I told my
no,
wife
go
the
ahead.
other day that when I was a kid, she said, "How did you know all this stuff about sports?" Because we didn't have internet back then. We had like 3 channels. I used to steal my neighbor's newspaper, and then I would steal it, and then they got mad at me. So then my brilliant idea is like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take the sports section and leave you the rest. And so I would unravel the newspaper and take the sports section, and then like bandage back up and leave it for them. And I just, and I was like 7 or 8.
Did
That's how
they
I got
catch
my
on?
news. Of course they did. And they knew what I was doing. I think
You
they
could
got a
have
kick
read it
out of
real
it.
quick and put the whole thing back.
No, man, because I would take the pictures and like tape them onto my wall and stuff, and like make decorations of, I don't know. There was no internet back then. The newspaper was my internet. And so that's just how
Yeah.
I absorbed information.
Well,
But we don't do that anymore.
yeah.
I don't even have newspaper in this house. Like I don't have,
Yeah,
it's been probably
I
20
have
years
not
since I got
seen
newspaper.
I mean, do they still deliver to your home, or do you have to go to the store and buy
No.
it?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly wouldn't even know where to buy a newspaper. Like I'd
Yeah.
imagine you could probably go to the store and buy one if you really wanted to.
Yeah, a
It's
few
just
years
not
I
a thing
remember
the way that it used
several
to be.
years ago, I went, like, on the day before Black Friday to get a newspaper because I wanted to know the deals, but that was
Yeah.
years ago. I mean, it's been a long time since I've physically touched a newspaper.
Oh, you're one of
But
those,
the
the
other thing
coupon
I was
clippers?
the Sunday paper? No, I wanted to know the what the Black Friday sales were gonna be that year. It's been a
Yo,
long time, probably
that
more
used to
years
be
than I care to admit. But here's my other point about
yeah.
this. The way that the New York Times was so profoundly protected, and it was all based on one thing from federal law, and that is you are protected when you are speaking about judicial proceedings. That
Yeah.
rule alone is huge and all-encompassing, and it has spread to cover so many things that now it's like documents. It doesn't have, it's not just a hearing or what's happening in a court. It can be just the filed documents. He stretched it. I kind of wonder in New York, but because they have such protections on First Amendment rights, and they have to put it to everyone if they're going to keep it. They can't
Well, I'll
rule
tell you
against
what.
it. But
If you're just talking about the pure legal strength of the judge's argument, a lot of people have made a big deal about lawyers, the lawyers that Andy had, that they did a bad job or whatever because they didn't properly write a privilege log. The judge literally said, even if they did, it wouldn't have mattered because he's not a journalist. So how about that?
yeah,
And
yeah, it
so
wouldn't have.
she didn't care about that.
Nope.
Let's take a look at this is her definition.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if Florida wasn't the best place to do this. I mean, unfortunately, he lives in Florida, but I don't know.
This is what the
I
11th Circuit says. They recognize a qualified privilege for journalists, allowing them to resist compelled disclosure of their professional news gathering efforts. This privilege shields reporters in both criminal and civil proceedings. And there's case law to that. A party can overcome the privilege by demonstrating that the information is relevant and unavailable elsewhere, and that a compelling need supports disclosure and such. And then they go on to talk about this standard applies even when the source of information is not confidential. And they talk about Section 90.5015 defines a professional journalist as someone who regularly engages,
he does it every day.
Yeah, the word regularly really matters because she talks out of both ends of her ass. She doesn't have two ends. She talks out of both ends. What I'm trying to say, she's talking out of both sides of her mouth because she says, on the one hand, like somebody who regularly engages, but then she says, okay, so he engages in that stuff, but he also does other things. So, okay, but CNN has like dancing shows, and they have shows that have nothing to do with news, and it's just pure opinion, gossip style television. But that doesn't disqualify them as being journalists, does it?
ABC, NBC, CBS, they run like soap operas during the day and game shows.
Exactly. And so it's never been the definition of journalism that you have to comprehensively only do journalism. You can do other things such that, according to this definition, you are regularly engaging in collecting, photographing, recording, writing, editing, reporting, or publishing news for gain or livelihood, which arguably you fall into this category. Arguably, I fall into this category. And look, I'm a lawyer like 95% of the time. 5% of what I do, and probably even less than that lately, is devoted to this YouTube channel. I still earn an income, like however small it is compared to my lawyer salary. I still earn money for doing this stuff, and I get paid by Google AdSense, and they pay me to do this based on how many views, based on how many super chats, based on how many subscribers, members, whatever. You earn an income doing this. Would you define it to gain? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. For gain is all that matters, right? We do it for gain.
Right. Yeah,
Some people do it
mine
for
certainly
livelihood.
couldn't be livelihood. I couldn't support myself off of my YouTube earnings.
Oh,
But
the
but
day that I
gain,
can support myself only on YouTube, I will retire from law.
oh,
I promise.
absolutely.
Yeah, it is so much easier and it's so much more fun to do YouTube than it is to, I just had like this exhausting trial the other day. Anyway, I'm going to get off track if I start talking about that. Let's continue with this definition.
Okay.
For gain or livelihood, and who obtained the information while working as a salaried employee or independent contractor. That encompasses Andy. For, now this is key, and this is why it's outdated, a newspaper, a news journal. What the hell does news journal mean? Because I would, if you were to ask me that definition, I would call it an amalgamation of news, fact, and opinion, which would basically encompass your channel, my channel, other YouTube creators, and Andy Signor. News agency, that to me is a vague term that I'm not sure we even know what that means anymore. Press association, they're obviously talking about the AP, Associated Press. A wire service. When's the last time you wired anything?
I've never, I don't even know what a wire service is.
Get out. Yeah, you
Is
do.
that like Telegram? What does that mean?
It's basically a telegram, like you wire money to people, or like,
Oh, okay.
I
I
guess
know
they
what
used
wire
to
money, but I mean that's Zelle,
wire
right?
messages. They're literally talking about 1890s communications.
Morse
Yeah,
code?
they were talking Morse code like that.
Yeah.
and that like
Now
meant
I
words
think
and stuff.
for myself, I would not consider myself a journalist or any kind of
I
news
would beg to
agency.
differ.
I
You're
do
more
this
than a journalist than
so
I've ever been.
part-time. I
Have
mean,
you
I
watched your documentaries? No, man. I can't let you talk down about yourself. Have you watched your own documentaries? Like, this is really comprehensive. I need to like section out a part of my day because if I don't pay attention, I'm going to miss out on things. It's like it's dense. Your mind might as well be like Ken Burns, like FDR documentaries, the Civil War document. Come on, man. You're
Yeah.
more journalist than than anybody else that I know. Put it that way.
Oh, well.
Except maybe Andy Signor because he does this
Well,
for a living.
yeah, like Andy, has he ever had a press pass? Because he's worked for legit
Yes,
companies.
he has. He
Yeah.
he he has worked for legit companies. I can only imagine it'd be weird if he didn't have a press pass. Put it that way. He
Yeah.
has real journalistic connections from his mainstream jobs that he did prior to Popcorn Planet. Um,
Right. So
if Andy
he's
Signor is not a
in a
journalist, I don't know what a
specific
journalist is then.
right. He's not just a YouTuber. Like he is in a special category. He has legit been a journalist.
Yeah, he's look, the fact that he is on YouTube gives credibility to YouTube as a journalistic outlet. That's what I would say. Anyway, continuing with this definition, they talk about when's the last time you listened to radio? I don't even listen to radio anymore. I listen to Spotify or like
Yeah.
podcasts.
Pandora.
I
Yeah.
haven't listened to terrestrial radio in probably over a decade. I was right out of law school the last time I did that. And then I got off of it because I got satellite radio. I don't even listen to that anymore because there's Spotify and there's Wi-Fi and internet
Right.
and things.
Yeah. The only
Television
time I hear
station.
radio is when my cord comes loose from my phone in the car and it
Yeah, and it's
accidentally
like this
turns on.
annoying, like
Yeah, it's
staticky, like what
awful.
the
It
hell?
sounds
Turn it
terrible.
off. When it comes on in my car, it's like somebody starts talking in Spanish, like, okay, the internet's out or something happened. They talk about network news magazine. Okay. Section 90.5015B specifically excludes from its coverage book authors and others who are not professional journalists.
That's not a definition.
No, that's an exclusionary tool, not professional
Others who are
journalists.
not professional journalists is not a definition.
You have to define for me then what a professional is. My understanding of the word professional is somebody that does something for monetary gain and is held to the same standards as other professionals. Like, for example, in college sports, they're considered amateurs because they don't get paid for it, right? And they have that distinction. They're
Right.
considered amateurs. They get to compete in the Olympics and things like that. But the second they hit like the MLB or NFL or NBA, they are professionals because they are now competing for monetary gain. If he was, I don't know, unmonetized and not doing this for monetary gain, I think arguably you could say, okay, so he's an amateur journalist, whatever, fine. But the fact that he has a whole company based around it, a network of channels, and he has more than one, that he has a documentary that he's worked months on, that he has coming out, that he has all these connections, these professional connections. I just don't, if he is not a professional, I don't know what a professional is. This judge would have to explain to me, what is a professional journalist then? If she means salaried employee, she can't say that without saying independent contractor, which would encompass Andy. So in what world could she make the legal argument that he's not a professional? Explain it to me.
Is he appealing this?
Yes. He's, matter of fact, as far as I'm aware, he started a GoFundMe to help fund his appellate, I guess, defense or endeavors, exploits. So yes, he's appealing this, and he should.
Yeah, he needs to slap together a whole lot more evidence. If he's ever held a press pass, if he has like multiple, he needs to submit copies of those.
Well, he's going to be bound by the appellate record. There is the unfortunate. He can't bring in additional evidence.
Oh, he can't?
No, the judge is limited to what the appellate review is going to be limited to what the judge was able to review. So they can't.
What
bring
about
in
if he mentioned the jobs that he'd done before? Can he bring like evidence of those jobs? So like when he
can
worked
say,
that job. Yeah,
he can say that he can basically say that it was a mistake of law that she did not classify me as a journalist that would have given me access to journalistic privilege. The fact that I have all of these things going for me 100% encompasses the very meaning of the statute, the way that it was intended way back in 1921, whenever it was written. And the fact that section 90.501 is so broad that it only excludes non-professionals, she was mistaken in her view of what professional journalist is. It says book authors, okay, he's not a book author, and others who are not professional journalists. That definition, as far as I'm aware, does not include Andy Signor, who does this for a living. That would, by definition, in the plain meaning of the word professional, means that he is a professional journalist, somebody that holds himself to a standard that earns him an income.
And that's all he does, right? That's his whole job, is this?
Yes. I mean, I don't know the full exploits of what he does, but it's essentially his livelihood. 100%.
It's like we have other jobs. So
yes.
I feel like that's all he does, right? Is this reporting stuff. Yeah.
I have like 3 minutes to get through all of the stuff that I prepared, and I've gotten through none of it.
All right, I'm going to shut up and let you do that.
It's okay. I knew this was going to happen. I'm going to do a follow-up stream tomorrow because you and I have a stream that we're going to do in about 3 to 5 minutes or so about Murdaugh episode 5, which I invite everybody that's listening right now to join us on that stream. We're going to be breaking down. We'll probably be on the air for like an hour or so to talk about episode 4 of the Hulu series, Alex Murdaugh. No, we're on episode 4. My wife's right there. So aren't you on 5? No, we're on 4. That's what I thought. I asked Cassidy, aren't we on 5? It's like, no, we're on 4. It's like, get out. We're supposed to be on 5.
We should have been on 5, but yeah.
Yeah, my main criticisms of this decision is that it's an outdated definition of what a journalist is, and she fails to take into account the expanding landscape of journalism. Now, the double-edged sword of this is that what this means for content creators is that you have to pick a side. If you're going to endeavor to be a YouTube journalist, fine. But then this means, because right now this judge is making a distinction. If you're a YouTube journalist, you're not a journalist at all, is basically what she's saying. Therefore, journalistic privilege doesn't apply, but then that also means that you're going to be held to the same standard as a professional journalist. What does that mean? In plain terms, when you represent yourself in court, you have to abide by all of the same rules that a regular lawyer has to abide by. They don't make exceptions for you. Mm-hmm. You have to know the law. You have to know your case. You have to know what matters. You have to know what's going to get you in trouble. You have to know what you can and can't do. And so if you're going to endeavor to be a journalist, then you have to abide by all of the same rules that newspapers and news outlets and media outlets and cable outlets abide by. Mm-hmm. And you can see that there's a completely different way they've been developing their practices for like hundreds of years. Like they give opportunity to speak for both sides. They take great care not to say anything wrong. They take great care not to have opinions without giving a factual basis for everything that underlies. Like if they could say something negative about something, I say this about Blake Lively, but Blake Lively would disagree, and this is what she would say. They take great care to present both sides. So this is double-edged. Because 100% I believe that Andy is a journalist and should be protected by journalistic privilege. And I think that he should prevail on appeal based on the judge's mistake in law. 100%. Now, if it's a mistake in law and it really comes to pass that the death of his case is going to be, well, his attorney screwed up the privilege log, that's a different story. But that's not what this judge said. This judge said that even if they got the privilege log correct, he doesn't meet the definition of a journalist that he would be able to take advantage of journalistic privilege. So the hell with him. He's going to have to turn over his sources. That's what they told Andy. So on the one hand, obviously I'm sympathetic to Andy's cause. On the other hand, I'm very concerned with what's coming down the pike for YouTube creators because
that's the bigger picture right there.
Yes.
Is our freedom of speech is in serious peril.
So check this out though, Cassidy. So it's in peril, but if this judge or if the appellate court rules that YouTube creators that cover news worthy topics for the purpose of disseminating news are held to the same standards as professional journalists the way that it's been contemplated in these statutes. And every state has different statutes. Obviously federal law will apply where it's applicable. But if that's what we're saying, it means that you yourself and me, myself, and every other YouTube creator itself will be responsible for what they put out there. And if they don't give equal time to both sides, that will open up YouTube creators to a whole host of lawsuits from people that are unhappy with the things that are being reported on.
Right.
And so, look, it is extremely complicated, and it's extremely interesting what's going to happen with this, because it's almost a blessing in disguise that the judge ruled the way that he did, because it, in a way, protects YouTube creators that, look, you guys are amateurs. We're not going to hold you to the same standard or whatever. And you're doing this for, social media, you're doing it for clicks and likes, whatever. But the second somebody says, okay, this, and you pretend to be a journalist and you act like a journalist and you portray yourself to be a journalist to produce journalist exploits, then I'm going to hold you to the same standards as ABC. And therefore, you will be responsible for what you put on the air. That's
scary.
Wildly dangerous and scary. It is scary on all fronts. I'm not even sure what would be more beneficial for independent creators like yourself and like myself. Because if you open yourself up, if you're going to call yourself and be disseminated or be designated to be a journalist, what is that opening you up to?
Yeah,
you're protected with journalistic privilege, but you're opening yourself up to a whole world of other litigation.
Right. That's why when I went about my motion to quash, it was just about my freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I didn't call myself a journalist. I didn't claim any kind of privilege, anything like that. I was like, I'm just someone who has a right to speak my opinion, because I didn't want.
Oh, by the way, I can't forget about Ricardo. Every time I do a show, he always gives me $2, says, "Hello, lovelies."
I know, he's so amazing.
Yeah, Ricardo's been with me for a long time, man. I appreciate and love this guy. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to before I forgot. Okay. You were mentioning, I forgot what you were saying.
Oh, I was just saying that's why when it came to my motion to quash, I didn't say anything about journalist privilege, none of that. It was this is just my First Amendment, my right to free speech. I have a right to express my opinion.
Yes, you do.
And I do this anonymously, and that is extremely protected. So that's how I went about mine.
Yeah, they're almost two different issues. And it's like I said, I'm not sure which is more beneficial for independent content creators, to have Andy lose this and them continue to make this distinction between that are sort of doing journalistic stuff, but they're not professionals, or them saying, all right, fine, journalistic privilege applies. Therefore, this is how it applies. If you endeavor to cover a news case, then you are going to be held to the same standards as ABC. And good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's really dangerous, man. And I'm not sure if that's good for YouTube creators.
No, it's terrible for us.
Yeah, as much as I support Andy's endeavors, and 100%, and Andy does not care, because I think that he fashions himself as a professional journalist no matter what. And he's extremely professional. Like look, Andy doing stuff journalistically is not the same as me doing stuff journalistically. Like, he's got a whole thing that he does. And I'm not on his level under any, like, I've been on a show a couple times and I lawyer thing, but he does the journalistic thing and he's a professional. Like, he did, like, if he's not professional, I don't know what that means then. And I'm just going to wrap this up with this. How this shakes out under appellate review is going to affect, potentially, for decades, the nature of amateur journalist pursuits. And it's necessarily going to have an effect, a rippling effect. And I think that what the courts are confronted with is we have to learn how to handle these YouTube, TikTokers, Instagram folks, whatever platform.
There's so
Rumble.
Many of us.
Yeah. Like, what do we do about these folks?
That would open up How many people, someone doesn't like what she said on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, they can take you to court and you have no rights whatsoever. I mean, do you know how messy
Yeah, I do.
court systems would get? There are so many of us.
Picture this. Imagine you had like a 15-year-old kid and your 15-year-old kid has like a TikTok channel and they like do a video about Blake Lively trying to cover the case. And now because of this ruling, they are held to the standards of ABC and now it's sued by Blake Lively.
Yeah.
And you're, which, you know, would present problems in and of itself. I'm just saying that that's kind of, there's a large bell curve of people that are in here. Like there's the mainstream and there's they're more professional and there's the completely amateur, you know, like grandpa who's 88 years old accidentally hit record or went live on YouTube when he started talking shit about Richard Nixon and somebody in the Trump administration got offended about it. I'm throwing out extreme examples because that would be the other end of the extreme. I'm just saying there's a lot to
There's
unpack
potential
with this
here
case.
for a mess.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about all that because that I feel like should be a different video. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But for Andy's case, 100% the judge got this wrong. And she has an archaic view of what journalism is. Her reasoning, I don't agree with any of it. I think that Andy's going to be successful on appeal. I think the bigger question for us that we're going to maybe explore tomorrow is what this means, what this really means if this goes Andy's way for independent content creators. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up. And folks, if you haven't already, I have another live stream that I'm about to start with Cassidy O'Connell in about 30 seconds or so. We're going to be recapping episode 4 of the Murdoch Hulu TV series. We've been doing episode for episode, and we're deeply embroiled in it. And if there's anybody that knows more about the Alex Murdaugh case, I'd be surprised if they knew more than Cassidy O'Connell. What do you think of
that? Gotta remember.
And with that, all right. Let's folks, I love you all. I will see you guys over there.
Yeah, come on over, guys.
Bye-bye.